And none of you are in the shot, just Lacey.
I actually did that on purpose.
But there's okay, yep, we're
Is there a
good.
blinking red light?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well then I'll just go ahead and get started. We don't need to do a test run or anything. Okay, awesome. Well, welcome to the SCCA meeting. I wanted to start by saying thank you so much for letting me be here. I know you guys are very busy and you guys have had a long day already, and I really appreciate your time being here. So I'm here tonight to talk about Pyramid Plus work that's been done here in Summit County, what's going on down in Denver, as well as across the state of Colorado. So what we're going to do is we're going to do kind of an overview, an introduction of Pyramid Plus, the approach to center, and what it all is. So I want to start by thanking our funders. On the state level, it's the Department of Human Services, Colorado Health Foundation, Temple Hoyne Buell Foundation, as well as Mile High United Way. On a local level, I just want to take a minute to thank the Early Childhood Council, which is made up of ECO, Early Childhood Options, as well as Grand Beginnings over in Grand County. We partner in that council. The Colorado Health Foundation, which funded a lot of pyramid work since it started about 5 years ago. The Pyramid Plus Center, the Right Start Project, which I know you are all very familiar with. The Summit Foundation, and our newest grant, which is Caring for Colorado, which will be funding a lot of pyramid work here in Summit. So then before I move on, there is one thing that I wanted to do. I know, like I said, you guys have had a long day, so I thought it might be nice to stand up, get a little activity. What I'd like to do before we start the presentation is just get a sense of everyone's background in pyramid. So I'd like to do what I call our stand on the line activity. And if you look over here on the wall, you'll see different signs. Extremely familiar, familiar, somewhat familiar, and brand new. So if everyone could take a couple minutes, what I'd like you to do is place yourself somewhere on the line in regards to your familiarity with pyramid. Anybody have any questions? No?
You get to see everybody's butt in the picture for something.
Of course.
Feel free to take your snacks with you. Your dinner, as I should say. Yep, Laura, please join us.
I'm not familiar with it. I know.
I think it's good. This is actually really fantastic. We have such a nice balance. Did you guys do that on purpose?
Yes.
That is fantastic. So
talked
if
about this before we got
you, yeah, did you do it out in the hall while I was around?
Actually, I emailed everyone.
Yeah, Joanne did that. Although I gotta give you credit, you successfully registered for the conference, I give you all the credit. So what I would love to do is just go down the line and everyone tell me kind of why you put yourself where you did on the wall. It can be as simple as I have never heard any of those things on that screen, as well as I am an expert, which I know Laura is. Wendy, do you mind starting for us?
I'm Wendy Blasingame. I don't really know about it at all. I'm assuming that it's probably going to be a lot of similar things to what I taught and learned, because I used to be a teacher, kindergarten teacher for the past 20-something years. So I figure it's probably going to be things that make sense to me and I know, but I don't. Lots of times things are very similar, but they have different titles.
Yes,
So
exactly.
I guess I could try to speak more succinctly. Sorry.
Awesome, thank you. Grace?
I'm familiar with the name and the general concepts, but beyond the titles of the programs and how starting at the bottom and taking a certain level of classes, I've never done anything else with it.
Perfect.
I guess I have to agree with what she said. My name's Loretta Behill, and I'm not really sure about the pyramid and how it all works, so.
Fantastic.
To
This is
learn.
gonna be so exciting for you guys.
Kind of in the same place they are.
Yeah, somewhat familiar with it, kind of heard of the name. If someone said the pyramid approach, you might.
We've talked about it at some of our meetings, but
Mhm.
I've forgotten.
Well, this is perfect for you
I need
guys.
to do more of it for me to remember.
It'll come back.
I need a lot more repetition than I did in my 20s.
Yeah, I took classes years ago, so we'll see what is the same, what's different, what I remember, what I don't. So.
You took the 18 sessions years ago? Oh, fantastic. I didn't know that.
Hit and Miss took some classes.
Awesome.
And where are you?
Today I don't know.
She's the lady with the cool
Yes,
t-shirt.
Wendy is. know her yet.
I'm Joanne, and I have a question. I took most of the pyramid classes in 2010, 2011. Is the Pyramid Plus the same as what I took back then?
So the Pyramid Plus model, that's a fantastic question, and Laura, please feel free to jump in because it can be a little bit, there is a lot to Pyramid. There is the Pyramid Plus approach as well as there are the 18 sessions of Pyramid, and I actually have a visual that we're gonna look at a little while later that I think will help to answer that question. But I got off on a tangent, I'm sorry, Sarah Megan.
Are they the same or are they
They've
different?
added different components.
Yes, to the
Oh,
18
it's
sessions.
plus,
So they
okay.
have morphed
Okay.
it a little bit. You know, we're going to talk a lot about how it's based on evidence-based practices. So they have morphed to stay current with current research. So they have changed some. And I actually do have updated sessions if that's something we'd like to get your hands on. I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
I'm Candy Plum, and I did go through the 18 sessions, but I wouldn't consider myself extremely familiar because it's not something that I have to use all the time in a noticeable fashion with having the challenging children that I'm banging my head against the wall going, what do I do, what do I do? And so It's okay.
Yeah.
I have to be in my head.
Yeah.
So we're okay.
Yeah, just to be clear, not the child's actors. You're fine. I'll take that for you.
That's
Laura?
right. So I had gone through the 18 sessions, and I was in Lacey's shoes about a year ago doing this presentation to another group, getting certified to be a coach, where Lacey's getting certified to be a trainer.
Yep.
So my capacity is more kind of working one-on-one with individuals around the different pieces incorporated. And I feel like I need to throw out a disclaimer and tell you that this presentation doesn't totally capture all the greatness of Pyramid Plus. I feel
agree
like
with that.
this is a lot of dry facts where a lot of Pyramid is approaches and ways to incorporate different learning into the classroom, and there's a lot to it. And so I have actually gone through the 18 sessions twice because there's so much.
There
There is.
And if you're not using it, you're losing it,
Exactly.
like everything. So just know, as Lacey is doing, you're amazing at speaking. There's just a lot to it. And so don't be scared off by the numbers and the data.
And I would agree with Laura that, you know, this presentation can be a little bit dry is the word she used. You know, we go over a lot of, we talk about some community data, some statewide data, we talk about a lot of logistic things. But, you know, through the 18 sessions, when I co-trained them with Catherine Orr this past fall, I mean, there were some times where we had teachers leave and they were just jazzed to go try this in their classroom. And a lot of the times you'll leave a session and think, wow, that strategy would work really well with Johnny. I always use Johnny in my mind. That would work really well with him. I really want to go home and try it. I know it is a big commitment, and we'll talk about, you know, the 18 sessions and completing all those a little bit later. But like Laura said, don't base it all off of this presentation because Pyramid really is pretty awesome. It's exciting. It's fun stuff. Awesome. So thank you so much for sharing, especially the ladies up here. It's hard to stand up there and say, I don't know anything about that. So kudos to you guys. You guys can sit
But
down.
we're
for that.
encouraged to learn.
Yes, you guys are my favorite people here. Laura, can you be my man away? If you help me out, ask a question, join an activity, you get candy.
I'll try and.
What'd you say? Yeah. You have food. So then last thing I want to do before we really get started with the presentation is just go over the handouts that you guys have in front of you. That top handout is just an agenda. We're going to loosely go by that. It just goes over what's in the presentation. The handout underneath is the new framework for the Pyramid Plus work. We're going to look at the differences between the original framework as well as this new framework. And that second sheet of paper I chose to give you guys as a handout because it outlines all of the 18 sessions. And there was a reason that I didn't print them back to back. There's a reason that I didn't print them back to back. I wanted you guys to be able to put them just like Candy has them right there, put them next to each other. And the colors correspond to where they apply on the pyramid. You know, which tier they apply to. So it's nice to be able to compare the two. And then the last handout is an evaluation, so you can tell me how much you liked the candy yet. Okay, so first I want to go over our presentation objectives, and these are the objectives from the Pyramid Plus Center. They hope that you will have a better understanding of the history and the role of the Pyramid Plus Center down in Denver. You will hopefully leave with a better understanding of the tiered supports available. We're going to talk about the way the Pyramid Plus, as well as our community, can support you in your pyramid work, as well as an increased understanding of where the Pyramid Plus Center is, where they have been, and where they hope to go. On a little bit more of a direct level, these are my objectives for the presentation. Candy, let me know if I'm in your way. To provide an overview of the information about Pyramid Plus, why this is important, why this work is so great. To raise awareness of all the hard work that's gone on here in Summit County, because there has been a lot of hard work that's been put in by a lot of people, Laura included. As well as to increase participation in trainings and involvement, End all be all, I hope you guys leave here with at least a little bit of, more of knowledge base for Pyramid, and maybe that'll excite you to join in, whether it's one training or all 18 trainings, or you want to become a certified coach or trainer too. So, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So, what is the overall goal of the Pyramid Plus Center? And that is to ensure the high fidelity implementation in early care and education services. And I know that sentence itself is kind of a lot. We're going to talk about the term fidelity a little bit later in the presentation. That was something that was brand new to me. But moral of the story is that their overall goal is to use these two national models to a certain level of fidelity, and those models are CEFL and TAXI in conjunction with one another, as well as Special Quest. Are you guys familiar with any of those?
Not Special Quest.
So Special Quest is an approach for birth to age 5, and it's all about inclusion. Children who may have disabilities or may be at risk of a disability, including them in programs and, daily routines. There was one point in time in history when children were always pulled out of a classroom. Special Quest knows that that's not the way we want to go. As well as CEFL and TAXI, CEFL being the Center on the Social and Emotional Foundations for Early Learning, no wonder they gave it an acronym, as well as TAXI, Technical Assistance Center on Social Emotional Interventions. CEFL and TAXI are two fantastic resources that actually maybe after the presentation I can bring them up. They have a ton of resources that are talked a lot about and utilized a lot during the 18 sessions of Pyramid. And what's nice is all those resources are available to you. For example, one of the resources is a Tucker the Turtle Solutions Kit. That is on the CEFL website. Are you familiar with that?
I remember, now that you say it, I remember him.
Yep, so that Tucker the Turtle Solutions Kit, these small square pieces of paper that you can put on like a key ring, and you teach a child how to use it, and then eventually the goal is that when the child needs a solution, they have this resource available to them. And it's already made for you right on their website. You print it out, put it on a key ring, teach the child, and use that as a resource to you, but it's all free, which is great. So a few more of the Pyramid Plus Center objectives: to support state collaboration, interagency teams, provide technical assistance and training for people such as myself, such as Laura, as well as communities as a whole, and establish rigorous evaluation systems. That is something that's very important to Pyramid. We're going to talk in a little bit about how Pyramid is based off of evidence-based practices. Like you guys said, there are a lot of programs out there, there are a lot of strategies, a lot of approaches. Well, at the end of the day, we want to use what works. And without these evaluation systems, we would never know what works. So just a few data points, and I won't read them all, there's a lot on there, but there are two on here that I really want to highlight. the top one I think is really interesting. And it is a little bit outdated, but back in 2004, faculty in higher education early childhood programs reported that their graduates are least likely to be prepared to work with children with persistently challenging behavior. And I found that I had to read it a couple times, but basically what it told me was that they were reporting that their graduates were not prepared to work with children with persistently challenging behavior, which in my eyes, you know, is a big red flag. And then the other data point on here that I like to point out is that preschool children are 3 times more likely to be expelled than children in grades K through 12. Had anyone heard that statistic before?
Just in the
No.
training.
There you go, you got a great memory. I had never heard that before either, and I was like, no way, that can't be true.
Preschooler.
That's what I said. I mean, a child, but, and it is a tad outdated. 2005 was a few years ago now, but I thought that was a bit, you know, almost left me on a standstill for a moment, that someone would, you know, expel a preschooler, especially at such a higher level than they would a young adult.
Are they counting when, like, the daycare provider says you're gonna have to take your child out until they stop biting the other children?
That,
I would have
You
to
know, I don't
It's
know that-
spelled in quotation
Yes, I would say
marks.
yes.
I would have to guess yes.
I would
It's
imagine
the
yes,
centers
because the
can
number's so
choose,
high,
right?
yeah.
It's up to them.
And it comes down to a policy. I know Summit School District has a 0, you know, they don't expel any child in early childhood. But it really just depends on the center. And it would actually, that's a good point to bring up, it'd be interesting to get more information about where that came from. But the,
It's in quotation marks,
mhm.
so it's not like.
It's not like
you
it's
can't
a,
send your
yeah,
kid back.
yeah,
you
you
know.
have to move, yeah. No, it would be interesting to hear how they define the
It's
word
like we're no longer
expel.
caring for this child because he's too much work for us to deal with everything else we have going on.
Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
But it can still hurt the child's.
Well, then that's that.
So a couple of points that I just want to highlight before we continue. Like I said, there's been a lot of hard work that's been put into pyramid work here in Summit County. I think especially for a rural community, you know, to have the foundation that we do in Summit County is really something to highlight. I mean, we're going to talk about in a little bit how many coaches and trainers we have and the support system that has been built well before my time to support all of the early childhood community. I also really like to highlight that the Pyramid Plus approach is not a curriculum. I've been in other trainings before with you guys, and sometimes we get feedback from teachers, from home-based childcare providers that, oh my goodness, this is one more thing I need to implement in my classroom, or this is one more curriculum I have to follow. It's nice that Pyramid Plus approach, it is just that, it is an approach, it is not a curriculum. We talked a little bit how it's evidence-based, supports children 0 to 5 years. But really the big piece that I like to pay attention to here is that Pyramid Plus approach is inclusive. It is designed for children with and without special needs, children who do have challenging behaviors, as well as children that are typically developing. You know, they aren't showing any signs of having any disabilities now or somewhere down the road. So it's not, you know, another program that you bring in just for Johnny. It's an approach that you can apply in your home for all of your kiddos. So now we're just going to move on to the really exciting stuff, and we're going to talk a little bit about the history of pyramid. And I'll just go through and I'll highlight a couple of these. If you guys want me to stay on the slide for a little bit longer, I'm happy to let you guys read through it if that is what you'd like. So it started back in 2001 when Head Start and Child Care Bureaus funded CEFL, we talked about a couple minutes ago, as well as TAXI. We're going to talk about a little bit later how you'll find a lot of CEFL and TAXI, these evidence-based practices, within the pyramid itself. And then in 2005, Colorado was selected as a CEFL pyramid model state, which kind of got the ball rolling a little bit. And then it wasn't long after that Pyramid and Special Quest team members proposed a state center to combine professional development efforts, scale up, sustainability, things of that nature, which is how the Pyramid Plus Center got rolling. And then it was in October 2009 that Pyramid Plus, Colorado Center for Social Emotional Competence and Inclusion, was officially launched. I know a lot of these can be pretty wordy, but. So then not long after, in 2010, the Pyramid Plus Center received a grant from the Colorado Health Foundation to support this work, and then that grant was extended in the fall of 2011. And then it was in 2012 that Pyramid Plus received funding from Temple Hoyne Buell Foundation and Mile High United Way, which was a couple of those people, those funders that we were thanking in the beginning. And then it was during the years of 2009 and 2010 that surveys were done, and the results of those surveys indicated that teachers and parents were looking for this assistance. They were looking for some more training, some more support regarding how to support the children that had challenging behaviors. So then skipping ahead, looking at Summit County specifically, it was in 2010 that the Summit County Pyramid Leadership Team began its monthly meetings. And those meetings are still going on now. We meet on a monthly basis. So we meet on a monthly basis, and there are lots of different partners. Myself, I coordinate those meetings. Laura comes to those meetings. School district is involved with those meetings. Their child care center director is involved with those meetings. And we always welcome someone new during those meetings. We'd love to have, a home-based child care provider represented during those meetings. So then it was in 2011 that Summit and Grand, our early childhood council, was awarded the Pyramid Plus Technical Assistant Grant and a grant from the Colorado Health Foundation, which carried us through to last year. Yeah, the end of last year. And then we moved on to the Caring for Colorado grant, as well as other funding sources. So looking a little bit more closely at Summit County, between the years of 2011 and 2012, all 18 of the sessions were offered to local professionals. Pyramid Plus coaching began at Carriage House, Open Arms, and Upper Blue Preschool. 2 local professionals became certified as trainers, and there were 2 people as coaches. I know Elizabeth was one of the trainers, and I believe Catherine was one of the coaches. I'm looking at Laura if she knows.
I know a couple people have moved away.
Yeah, and a couple of people have moved away, but I do believe it was Elizabeth was
Elizabeth
part.
was an original.
Yeah, she was one of the original trainers. Carriage House was identified as an implementation site, and they have a pyramid leadership team that is now meeting monthly as well. And Positive Solutions parent trainings were offered at Carriage House and Open Arms. And we're going to talk a little bit about, is anyone familiar with Positive Solutions at all? So Positive Solutions is in my opinion, an underrated program. It is fantastic. It takes a lot of the strategies and approaches and the evidence-based practices within Pyramid and applies them to parents and routines within the home, things of that nature. We recently offered the classes at Lake Dillon Preschool, and we had a group of about anywhere from 10 to 15 parents that would come, and it's there are 3 sessions, and we do them in the evenings, so parents can be there. We've tried to provide food, things like that. But one of the greatest things about Positive Solutions, aside from the content, is that Positive Solutions doesn't need to be taught by a coach or a trainer. The content of Positive Solutions is available as a resource online on the Pyramid Center website, and it can be taught by anyone. So I always tell people, teachers especially that have been trained, I empower people to, if they see a family in need, or if they want to, if the SCCA wanted to get together and host Positive Solutions 3 sessions, you guys are more than welcome to do that. That's something you guys, I want you to feel empowered to do. And of course, there are all of us here to support you. So I'd be happy myself to do that with you guys. So what is happening now a little bit more recently? 2013, 2014, we had another trainer and coach going through certification. We offered all the 18 sessions. And those positive solutions classes were offered at Little Red Schoolhouse by Catherine Orr in spring of 2014. 14-15, we mixed it up a little bit. Catherine and Elizabeth offered sessions, 1 through 6 during the summer. That 18 session block, I know it can be a really big time commitment, so they tried to break it up a little bit so people had more of an opportunity to attend sessions 1 through 6, get those out of the way, and then in the fall they could go to sessions 7 through 18. And then there's a professional going through trainer certification, which is myself, and the coach certification candidate is Corinne, who I know you guys all know, and she's going through that process as we speak. And then the plan for 2015-2016, Positive Solutions, and for those of you that have registered, looked at the conference, you'll see that it's being offered at the conference, which is really, really exciting. I have this vision in my mind, we have lots of teachers registered, that we could have Positive Solutions offered to parents at all the centers, at homes could do it as a group. So that is being offered at the Successful Child's Conference, which is really exciting. It will be a 2-part breakout session. There will be, after lunch, there will be a morning, afternoon breakout session, first in the afternoon, then second in the afternoon, and you can attend both of those. And then you will have some background, things as a presenter, as well as Positive Solutions. You'll have a little bit more information on the content. And Catherine Orr is doing that. And then we're hoping to offer we will be offering all 18 sessions in the fall into the winter. And, I don't want to speak too soon or anything, but what I would like to do is offer them nights, weekends, things like that. I know the last 2 times we've done it, it's been midweek, which is impossible for you guys. So I'm hoping to, assuming that we can get some commitment, we'd like to do it during nights and weekends. But it's all up in the air. But if that's something you feel strongly about, I will definitely be there. Let me know, because we're here for you guys. We're here to support you guys. So you want to meet your schedule. And then the Pyramid Leadership Team is still meeting at Carriage House Early Learning Center, as well as the Community Pyramid Leadership Team meeting still meets monthly. So now we're going to look at really quickly the Pyramid Plus Center values. And like I said before, I won't read through these because there's a lot on there. The technical assistance is something that Pyramid Plus Center values pretty highly. Their efforts must be based on the best available evidence, be affordable, feasible, acceptable, and effective. And actually, when I read this, it immediately reminded me of Early Child Adoption's mission statement, working to improve quality, affordability, and availability of child care services. Another one I like to read or like to highlight in the slide is the outcomes of technical assistance efforts must be valued by the families and by the community. And you know what that's saying is this, the Pyramid Plus Center is here to support those who are involved in the Pyramid Plus work. If it's not being valued, if it's not what the Pyramid Plus professionals want, they want to know that feedback. They're here to support those who have taken the 18 sessions, those who are brand new but want to learn more. So this next image is the original model for Pyramid. So if you look closely at the handout you have in front of you, it is a little bit different because this is the original model. This original model was based, the inspiration came from public health's model of promotion, prevention, and intervention. And I think, it speaks to a lot that it was based off of those 3 aspects. Pyramid isn't just looking at the children who are already exhibiting challenging behaviors. They want to prevent them in the future. They want to go one step further and promote positive behavior with children. So, they want to start from the ground up rather than start at the top of the pyramid. In that intensive intervention stage, they want to start much before that. Anybody have any questions? I know I'm talking a lot. If you need a break or anything, feel free to step out, get some water, candy on the back table. So a few of the pivotal concepts. So we're going to talk about the tiered approaches, universal, targeted, and intensive. I know we talked about evidence-based practices, talking about fidelity, scaling up, and sustainability is another piece that we're going to be talking about later in the presentation. So evidence-based practices, as defined by TAXI, which is that technical assistance piece we were talking about, evidence-based practices are interventions and supports that have research documenting their effectiveness. Like I was saying a little while ago, it's all well and good to have 25 different strategies and 25 different programs, but if there's no research telling you they work, who knows? They might work, sure. Maybe they won't work. But pyramid, for me, it really hits home because you guys are busy every day. But if you can take a program, if you can take an approach and apply it and have some sort of reasoning behind it, for me, it gives me a much higher level of motivation to be involved in the pyramid work because there's research telling me that it has been successful in the past. It has helped children, it has helped families to, grow and thrive. So we brought up the word fidelity a little bit. Is anyone familiar with the term fidelity?
Means sticking with it, being honest and true to what you're working at.
That is a much better way to say it. This is very wordy, it's all implementation, all this stuff. It is defined as the extent to which an intervention is implemented in comparison to its intended design. That being said, and this was another concept that I had to read over like 10 times, and Catherine Orr, I had to be like, can you explain fidelity to me again? But the reason that fidelity is so important with pyramid work is because it's evidence-based. So that research that tells us this approach works tells us that this approach needs to be acted on the way it's intended. The strategies that you would learn about in the 18 sessions, if they aren't implemented the way they're intended, the outcomes may not be the same. So to get those outcomes, to get what your goal, to reach your goal, if someone's telling you that a process works, to maintain a high level of fidelity, you need to implement that process the way it's intended. So when they talk about to a certain level of fidelity, that's what they're looking at. Let me know if you want me to refer back to this slide or talk about it again, because it's a lot to take in. So now we're going to talk about the different levels of technical assistance that the Pyramid Plus Center applies. Universal, targeted, and intensive assistance. And we're going to talk about each one of those differences. So the universal approach is geared towards their target audience is everyone. Anyone that can go on their website and is looking for resources. If you are looking for the Pyramid Plus Center's annual report, you can find it on there. You can find information on, Pyramid Plus Center staff, as well as, webinars on selected topics that you might be interested in. That actually, if you're looking for homework, I would say visit the pyramidplus.org website and just check it out. Look around. There are a lot of resources that are available right at your fingertips. If you don't have a printer and there's something you really want off there, call me. I'll print it for you. I'll drop it off. Utilize that resource. And I do have printouts of the PowerPoint if you would like it, but if you want, I'll give you a minute if you want to write down this website.
It's also on the bottom.
It's on there.
Oh, perfect, look at that. It's already there for you. I actually put that there for you again.
And up here.
Yeah, so it's on those handouts there for you.
You didn't bring it.
I have to take mine off, you haven't put yours on it.
I circled it.
Oh,
I
goodness.
can get my magnifiers up tomorrow.
So I want to move on here quickly. I don't want to run over my time at all. I want to respect the time you guys have here. So this was the image that I was talking about when we were doing the stand on the line activity. It breaks down and, in my opinion, makes a little bit more simple of a visual, looking at the pyramid modules, the sessions 1 through 18, and the Pyramid Plus approach. And one of the things that I really want to point out to this group especially is that these pyramid modules, a lot of the examples you'll find in the modules, especially if you were to attend them, you know, the videos you see, the stories you read about certain kiddos, they are center-based. The videos you're going to see, they're in a classroom. The success stories you're going to read, they're about a child in a school. And as I'm going through certification, I have a reviewer that I work with one-on-one, and she tells me, you know, how I'm doing, how to improve, things like that, when I'm doing well. And her and I were talking about this, and I was saying, I'm presenting to the SCCA, you know, they are a group of home-based child care providers. I want to have something for them, you know, there's a lot of center-based examples in here, and she said that that is something that they are focusing on. One of the next projects is to tap into home-based childcare, and they want to begin to incorporate more than just examples of center-based care, which I thought was really exciting for you guys. I know it can be very different. What were you saying?
Is it finally?
Yes, exactly. So, and you know, I don't know what the timeline is or what the end result is going to look like, but the fact that they are acknowledging that there is a need for that is really pretty exciting, at least to me. I hope for you guys too.
Very much.
Lacey, so just looking at this visual, the Pyramid Plus approach, they definitely have on the right side incorporated more. So don't think that when you go to trainings, it's geared towards center-based staff or anything like that. There's lots of examples. There are lots of visuals, family stories that are based in homes. So don't think that this is all center-directed by any means.
They were years ago.
Right. But they are now.
Yeah.
And they're working towards, you know, putting examples in there in the home. And there are examples in there now. It's definitely not just for
Right.
center childcare providers. Absolutely not. A lot of the approaches can be, you know, morphed or implemented in your home specifically. So you might have to modify it a little bit. You know, it's not a curriculum, it's an approach. That's why I always like to highlight that it is not a curriculum. It's not, it can be applied in your home, which is very nice. It makes it much more applicable to you guys rather than just a training, okay, I got my hours, you know. You can leave with, my goal for when I trained the 18 sessions, when we did hands-on stuff, was for every person in the room to leave with a strategy. Okay, Johnny's driving me insane, I'm gonna try this with him. And I had people who would come back and say, oh, hey, I tried that, and that worked great, or I don't know what happened, that just made a bigger mess. So, you know, you try different things, but it's always nice to leave with something concrete, other than just a data point. So this image, this pyramid is what you have in front of you. This is the new Pyramid Plus approach, conceptual framework. And the nice thing about this is if you look on the left side of the pyramid, you can see which embedded inclusion models, there's that word inclusion again, where they fit on the pyramid. So if you look at your handouts, you can see that LEAP. Actually, are you guys familiar with LEAP or Building Blocks? Either of those programs? Let's see, which, well, we talked about Special Quest. Let's look at that. So Special Quest is utilized during those sections of the pyramid. And if you look at that second handout that I gave you, if you're really interested in Special Quest and inclusion, maybe you want to come to these sessions. Because see how the colors are a little off, but you see how they're color coordinated a little bit? You know that Special Quest is embedded into these sessions right here.
4 through 9.
Yep, 4 through 9 are great ones. Those are fun ones. everybody have a chance to look at it?
Yeah.
I picked those handouts specifically because I want you to be able to go home and look it over, and if there's one session that you really love, maybe you want to learn more about that. Maybe you want to come to that one session. You know, start small, start somewhere. So I wanted to go over just a few data points. We looked at prevalent data on a bigger scale. I wanted to look at Summit County specifically. So back in 2013, it was reported that 11% of children were living in families with an income level below the poverty level. 26% of children are English language learners. I think I just put English and language together.
Do you mean like as a second language? Because aren't they all learning English
Yes,
here?
yes, but English is not their primary language. So already they may have a barrier, you know. School readiness at age 5 by socioeconomic status at birth, 48% was poor, 59% near poor, and 75% was moderate or high income. And you know, that's just an example of the numbers that we want to see rise. You know, school readiness is so important. These early years, getting them ready for kindergarten is so important. And then this bottom data point is outdated, but I just wanted to read over it because I think it's a great one because it looks at Summit County specifically. Is everyone familiar with the early intervention program for children with disabilities or delays? So a few years ago, EI had a caseload of 52 children, and of those 52 children, 12 of them qualified for social emotional services and were being serviced by 3 credentialed play therapists and or counselors, which is just interesting. Of course, it is a very small pool, you know, 52 in a whole community is very small, but it's interesting to hear those numbers. EI also went on to add a 3rd play therapist. This was a couple years ago, in addition to an occupational therapist, because they saw these needs, you know, they saw a rise in these needs. They saw it as a need that needed to be met in our community. So now we're going to move on to the second approach of that technical assistance approach, which is the targeted approach, which involves trainer certification as well as coach certification. So it's something that Laura and I are very familiar with. Demonstration site certification, and a demonstration site, there are 4 in the state of Colorado. Have you been to visit one?
Yeah, I went to Bell Swan.
Bell Swan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure all 4 of them, but there's Bell Swan, and I went to visit Creative Options. And these are programs that have committed to a level of fidelity in regards to the Pyramid Plus approach. So they are adhering to a certain level of, they're holding themselves at a certain criteria in regards to Pyramid and in their program. And the things they're doing in their program, I mean, I wanted to run out the door and run up to Summit. I mean, you would see children in their classroom. A visual schedule is an example of another strategy that you'll see in the 18 sessions. And I saw a child go over to a visual schedule. He pulled something off the wall and moved it to the next thing on his day because it was time for him to go to the next task in his routine. And it was like, wow, this is fantastic. So, but that was Creative Options, which is down in Aurora, I believe. But so there are 4 demonstration sites in Colorado. So within that targeted approach, like I said, they provide technical assistance for certified trainers, certified coaches, people going through those certifications. So what does it look like to be a certified trainer or coach? They must have attended all 18 Pyramid Plus sessions in order as a first step to complete certification. Pay the fee and sign the agreement, logistics, things like that. Participate in an ongoing individualized professional development plan, which is what I was explaining to you with my reviewer, which is why we have the video that we talked about earlier. So I can observe myself, do some self-evaluations. My reviewer will give me feedback, so then as I'm going through this process, I can grow not only in my knowledge of Pyramid Plus, but also as a trainer, as someone who has to stand up in front of you and use my arms to talk a lot. I'm noticing that I'm doing that. So benefits for trainers and coaches. A lot of the benefits are outlined here on this slide. I won't go over them all with you. Like I said, I don't want to run out of time here, but that's something that Laura or I could answer questions for you if you had any interest in becoming a trainer or a coach. There are a lot of benefits. So the demonstration sites we talked a little bit about. These are the criteria that they are upheld to. You know, they collect a lot of data, they do a lot of evaluations. One of the pieces I really like to the demonstration sites is that there's a lot of family and community involvement, such as Positive Solutions, you know, training those, inviting their families to those. So there are also implementation communities as part of the Pyramid Plus work. Summit County is an implementation community, and I know it can be a little bit confusing because there's demonstration sites, which there are only 4 of in Colorado, they're held to that level of fidelity, as well as implementation communities, which Summit is. And implementation communities are selected through an RFP, a request for proposal, and the components of those implementation communities are community leadership, training and coaching infrastructure, such as, you know, Elizabeth Lowe, Catherine Orr, Laura Cronin, Kristen Spasato, she's another certified coach. Local child care program to serve as an implementation program. So there's those demonstration sites, the implementation community, and then an implementation program. I can draw you a map if you want. And our implementation program is Carriage House in Breckenridge, who we talked about. They're holding monthly pyramid leadership team meetings, things of that nature. And then community readiness and resources for sustainability. So the third technical assistance approach is intensive. And on the short-term level, it's looking at certifying current coaches, trainers, demonstration sites, providing training as a first step to certification for people that are brand new, working with implementation communities and programming, and then in the long term, building state and local capacity through certified Pyramid Plus trainers, coaches, and programs. So, you know, the Pyramid Plus Center in Denver can't be everywhere at once. So to hold that level of fidelity, they hold people such as myself, candidates, they hold me to a certain level of fidelity. And then I, in turn, hold someone else who might become a certified coach trainer, they are held to a level of fidelity. So that builds up that sustainability piece, which is really important, obviously. So there's also a Pyramid Plus state policy team. Their vision is that all early childhood settings support the social and emotional development and inclusion, that's my favorite piece, the inclusion piece, of children birth through 5, while their mission is to promote a collaborative professional development system that fosters and sustains the statewide high-fidelity use of Pyramid Plus, blah, 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 blah. But their goal, you know, they want to make sure that early childhood settings are including all children, that all children are growing and thriving and thriving. That's the word I want to use. I was trying to come up with another one. But so that policy team is represented by several different state agencies: Colorado Department of Human Services, Colorado Department of Education, Qualistar, University of Colorado, Office of Lieutenant Governor, higher education agencies. And I think it's really nice to hear this, because it's nice to hear that it's not just Laura and Lacey that made up an approach and we're going to tell it to you. You know, this is something that the state of Colorado is working together on. You know, the CDE, the Department of Education, they back this work. They're represented on the state policy team and they want to see this work continue, which is really a strong, you know, for me it's a strong advocate piece.
Quick question.
Sure.
Since you just mentioned child find, when is the next one up here?
You don't know off the top of your head, do you? But I do know who you could ask. Shelley at the school district, Shelley Ailshire.
Okay.
If you don't have her email, send me an email and I'll send it to you. Because
I'll send it to you tonight when I go to my.
oh, perfect. I want to say she coordinates the child find screenings. Either Shelley or Georgette, but Georgette, there's a new Georgette, so.
Kyle.
Yes, Kyle, he's fantastic. Have you met him yet? He's
I
great.
have not.
He's great.
Did Georgette retire?
She's leaving.
She took a new position.
Yes.
She's still around.
She is, I
Yeah.
think, through the month.
Yep, through the end of the month, gotcha. But there's someone who's gonna step into her shoes and he seems great. Kyle is his name, so. Perfect, so does anybody else have any questions? I haven't paused in a while. No? Okay, just roll right through.
Okay.
So then the last piece that I wanna talk about, and this word's been brought up quite a bit, is sustainability. We've talked a lot tonight about how there are a lot of strategies, a lot of curriculums, a lot of programs that you guys can implement in your homes. But Pyramid Plus really focuses on sustainability. A lot of those programs, you might see them come and go. You might go to a training, get your certificate, and then not hear about it again for 5 years, 8 years, something like that. Pyramid Plus, one of their core values is sustainability. You know, this work, I keep walking in front of you, this work is evidence-based, there's research backing this work. We want this work to continue. And the Pyramid Plus Center selected a tree as their symbol for sustainability. And there are a couple different reasons that they did that. And I know it's a little bit hard to read, but they labeled on their tree of sustainability